Behind me is the Rothschild's villa in Corfu, and I want to take you back to a party that they threw 3 weeks before the financial crash in 2008. This is Nate Rothschild, the owner of that villa. In August 2008, he held a party. This is Oleg Deripaska. He is a Russian oligarch, and he got rich mining aluminium. His company is called Rothschild, and they are the world's second largest producer of aluminium. Before I get into the escapades of the oligarch in Corfu, this is a video that was produced by Kev Collins. You'll get it on YouTube. It's about Russell's site in Limerick, Ireland. This is their largest refinery in Europe. The company is owned by a Russian oligarch. The main ore used in aluminium production is called bauxite. Mining bauxite is the most catastrophically damaging kind of extraction out of all of the bad shit. The damage is front-loaded at the extraction stage and then multiplied during the refining process. The damage is permanent. Some kind of mining, you go underground, and so you leave the topsoil and the trees on the top. Not this! This is not mining, it is total landscape removal. This piece of land has been scalped. People talk about AI wasting all the water, but the amount of water that is used to produce this caustic red mud, these are lakes of caustic material that never go away. Red mud is radioactive. When it seeps into rivers and groundwater, it destroys drinking water. It raises the pH and contaminates the area permanently. There's no way to fix this. And if we don't slow down with the extraction, we are going to end up buried in red mud. We are estimated and on path to produce 10 billion tons of this stuff by 2050. The local people in Limerick have not seen a dime from this. The profits for Russell go to the Russian oligarch. This is Oleg Deripaska's 72-metre super yacht. This thing is valued at £80 million. This is a picture of that yacht moored outside this villa owned by Rothschild 3 weeks before the financial crash. They had a party. It was Elizabeth Murdoch's birthday. So Rupert was there. This guy was there. His name is Matthew Freud. He is the great-grandchild of Sigmund Freud. And who came on his private jet with him? David Cameron, who at this time was the leader of the opposition. They were joined by Peter Monk, another massive extractor. This guy set up the company Barrick Gold. Also in attendance at this party in Corfu, Peter Mandelson, George Osborne, and Andrew Feldman. This is an open letter that Nate Rothschild wrote to the Times after that party. He says the Times is making too much out of what may or may not happen at a private gathering of his friends. He says, I am surprised that you focus on the fact that one of my guests, Peter Mandelson, is a friend of another, Oleg Deripaska. But not once in the acres of coverage do you mention that George Osborne, who also accepted my hospitality, found the opportunity of meeting with Deripaska so good that he invited the Conservatives' fundraiser, Andrew Feldman, to solicit a donation. Since Mr. Deripaska is not a British citizen, it was suggested his donation was channeled through one of Mr. Deripaska's British companies. What Rothschild's letter fails to mention is that he himself is a long-standing business partner of Oleg Deripaska, and money talks louder than him. He should know that by now. Rothschild was a key advisor to Oleg Deripaska, and he was the one who recommended Deripaska put his money into Russell and Glencore, another mining company. Nat Deripaska and Peter Monk had a number of co-investments, including Russell, and an infrastructure development project that the three of them were involved in to turn the port of Montenegro into a super yacht marina complex. It is Rothschild who used his network, his Rothschild network, to help Deripaska broker deals. Less than a month after this holiday, and after he writes to the Times and throws Osborne under the bus, Rothschild and Feldman have a phone call about a Conservative fundraiser dinner. The Tories' version of this is that it was Rothschild who mentions Leyland DAF. That is Deripaska's UK firm. However, Rothschild maintains that it was Feldman who brought this up. In the end, Deripaska doesn't make the donation to the Tories, and the whole thing becomes a bit of a social scandal for the crew. So the British press at the time gets absorbed by this story about these two. The girls are fighting, and the actual policy substance behind this dinner gets buried. In 2005, when Peter Mandelson was the EU Trade Commissioner, he made a decision to remove a 14.9% tariff on aluminium foil. That decision saved Russell, Deripaska's mining company, a lot of money. Then, in September 2008, just after this trip to Corfu, Mandelson announces a new EU trade strategy. And this strategy gives multinational mining corporations freer access to raw materials. Again, this directly benefits Russell hugely. In January 2005, Mandelson flew to Moscow and had dinner with Deripaska, Rothschild, and Monk. Former Russell executive later told the Daily Mail, Nat Rothschild bringing the EU Trade Commissioner to the table was very valuable extra for Deripaska. In 2012, Rothschild sued the Daily Mail for libel for publishing articles that referred to him as the puppet master who used Mandelson to impress Deripaska. Rothschild lost that court case. The ruling judge in that case said that Rothschild's behaviour had been inappropriate in a number of respects. That judge also said that Rothschild had foreseeably brought Lord Mandelson's public office and personal integrity into disrepute. That hasn't aged well. He did that to himself. But suing the Daily Mail also turns out to be a misstep for Rothschild. Other members of the traditionally secretive Rothschild family were deeply uncomfortable with what they refer to as too loud. Rothschild wrote this letter because he was furious that Osborne had leaked private conversations from his party to the press. As The Independent wrote at the time, what George Osborne appears to have done in making public details of their social gathering is to break perhaps the cardinal rule of the global elite. Discussions between the super wealthy and powerful, whether about matters of world-shaking importance or just mild gossip, are not to be shared with outsiders. By gossiping at all, Osborne had drawn media scrutiny onto Deripaska and, by consequence, Rothschild and his investments. Rothschild held over $100 million in Russell shares. They were literally colonizing the marina in Montenegro with the guy from Barrick Gold. To quote The Standard at the time, Osborne's loose tongue has unleashed a whirlwind of unwanted media attention on the business dealings of Rothschild and Deripaska. Also, a member of the Rothschild circle told Time magazine, if this was just about integrity, Nat wouldn't have done it. I don't think he realised the storm he was going to create, but there's more to this than meets the eye. This letter and its timing helped Mandelson a lot by distracting questions away from his weird tariff choices. Also, Rothschild reportedly warned Osborne that he would strike again if his version of events was challenged. I don't typically agree with lords from the Conservative Party, but Lord Tebbit summarised this justly when he said, if you sleep with dogs, you get fleas. What's important to understand about the Corfu story is that this is not a once-off. This is just one visual incident of how this permanent structure operates. Parliamentary debate is pure theatre when decisions are already made on terraces and yachts. What's striking to me is not that Tories were soliciting donations from oligarchs, but that this has all just become so normal to them that they are casually discussing it on a terrace in Corfu. What Rothschild perceives as harm is when Osborne speaks up, but there's never any shred of reflection on why they're having a business meeting on a yacht or what it's for, or are we ever going to mention the downstream consequences of that?